Hello. Welcome back to another video. Thank you for joining me, the Living Shadow, here on the Shadow Cast. It is nice to have you here, watching and or listening. So, I'm about to get started with my headphones in. Do not judge me for the quality of this because I literally had to use the MacBook webcam. The webcam to do this recording on instead of my usual things. Oh my goodness. So, I'm going to get started. Happy Pride Month, everybody. All the LGBTQIA, basically sexually divergent people. If you don't know, we call that. I don't think I'm going to get part of that in this episode today. But yeah. So thank you for being here. We're about to get started. It's weird for me to record it like this, but let me get my water. Water. Hello. Welcome back to the Shadowcast, hosted by the Living Shadow. I am the Living Shadow. And we're going to get started with something that is being interesting, to me at least, and over time, I think this has been something, I want to say Happy Pride Month, first of all, to those who celebrate. I'm recording this on June 1st in 2022, for those who care, if you don't. It is the first day of Pride Month, if you are a sexually divergent person. For those who do not know, sexually divergent is basically what I call the LGBTQIA plus, probably, on letters. Okay, if you're sexually divergent, Happy Pride Month. Do not be afraid to say that you are sexually divergent, or in whatever way that you find your sexual attraction, or attraction in general, or you align your chakras, which is part of the thing I want to talk about with this. So, there's some people who have like a gay thing, and there's some people who don't. There's some people who get some rainbow, and there's people who don't, or indigo, or whatever. They consider themselves some form of like rainbow thing. If you don't, if you're somebody who doesn't know, if you are an assassin on here, you should be. If you're listening to this, you should be an assassin. So, check out my website, Regenerative.me. Sign up to be an assassin. But basically, I see people talking about rainbows. And now, if you don't know rainbows is the colors of a rainbow line up to the same colors in the chakra system. So, like, you have it goes from purple to red, and that's how it goes in your chakra system. Purple at the crown and red at the root. So I find it interesting because there will be, I have my own deck of cards you can go purchase, the Shadow Oracle deck. When I go to find out stuff like that, like it will pop up with something, and people will get mad about the gay thing or sexually divergent thing. I'm like, okay, the card literally says "Live with Pride, they them." We're talking about LGBTQIA Pride Month. Like this is the whole thing. Like my business has so many different things like self-expression. Like if you go on and buy some assassin apparel, I have my gender identity is, which I'm still adding to those clothing items. I'm still adding to the list of expressions because a lot of people express themselves in various different ways. I want to be sure I have something, not like a uniform, so like label you, but like if you want to like say that if you really want to have pride and be like, oh, I identify this way and I'm not afraid to say it, then that's kind of what the whole point of the shadow shop is. That you go there with your assassin apparel, especially if you are an assassin, you don't give a fuck, and you go out there and you just kill hoes and slay and be like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me. Any way, any day. But I find it so interesting because I see that a lot popping up. And I have only ever been to a pride parade like once. No, I've never been to a parade. I've been to like pride parties before. Only like twice though. I went to one in Detroit and I think one here was somewhere else. I tried going when I used to live in Atlanta, but it did not end up that well. And part of this, even like this podcast in general, this podcast episode, it's like the culture behind Pride Month. So I'm not closeted. I don't consider myself to be closeted in any way, shape, or form. I don't really hide anything. I think in my particular life, I would say for my story, it's funny that a lot of people think a lot of people have thought I was hiding because they wanted me to be something that it wasn't necessarily me. So, for instance, on Halloween, I was dressed up as Catwoman. Halloween, I was Catwoman. And I had a wig on for most of the day. I think I took it off when I went to like the Halloween party. I don't remember if I had a wig on or not for the Halloween party. Anyway, I had on this wig for a Halloween party. Long, straight, black wig. Okay. I look good. I look like a female. You would never even begin. Like, really, if you may not even know. So, there's people who see me like that, or on days where I put on makeup, or on days where I feel like being shown in a feminine light on my body. And they would think that, oh, that means you're trans or something. Like, I don't consider myself that way, but I find it so funny because we're talking about this particular day, right? Or not necessarily this day, but this month, these types of people, group of people, this community, I guess like the Pride community, Rainbow community, and sexually divergent community. I just consider it like that, like people who are very open-minded to people of different sexualities, which I'm going to go into that in a second. But one of the things I noticed about doing that was that, a lot of these people, they have these perceptions of you, and if you don't fit their perception, they really trying to make you and change it to your perception. So as I'm flipping these, flipping cards and stuff, trying to figure, and it pops up is that I'm like, okay, does somebody want help? Like, is somebody trying to come out or anything like that? Like, I've never been in the closet, so it's weird to me because I don't have a coming out story. My coming out story was I was born. Like, that's like the coming out story. I'm not like, and with the culture of it behind it all, it's hard to have pride sometimes because you see people who have different ideas and different mindsets behind what the culture would be or what the culture is. So if we're talking about like gay culture, right? It's a whole different. I say sexually divergent because gay culture, lesbian culture, trans culture can be very different cultures, in all honesty. So if we're talking real Pride Month, to me, when I see stuff, of course, it's all based upon like what these people are doing, like who moves forward. This is that. There's different various forms like Stan Twitter, for celebrities and things like that. But really, like these are various different communities. If you go and talk to people who are bisexual and people who are asexual, and again, some of these things can mix, but it's odd because most people feel a little isolated, and they feel isolated just because they're different. So, sexual divergence. It's a phrase I'm coining. It's a phrase I'm using. It's a phrase I like. It basically just means that you're using your sexual energy or your sexual attraction. You think about sex in a very different way, or you experience and do sex in a very different way. I don't know. This is still recording. Right? Okay, good. The little laptop went out on me for the video. If you want to see the video, go to the Shadowcast podcast on YouTube. There's the video is available on the Shadowcast podcast YouTube channel. But anyway, my point I was getting to is that sexual divergence. Sexual divergence. So a lot of people think about sex in various different ways. A lot of people get turned on in various different ways. A lot of people find various different things sexy, or they think that they experience sex in a various different way. Okay? This is why I say sexually divergent instead of LGBTQIA, blah, blah, blah. So, if you are a straight person, basically, a non-sexually divergent person, you're probably traditional man-woman couple relationship, have kid. If you are not that, which is, I think, the majority of people, and I don't mean the majority of people in that the majority of people think about things differently. I don't think everybody's very, very traditional. There are still traditional people out there, but I think as time has moved on, and y'all can show me whether I'm right or wrong with that, but as time has moved on, there's more people who've become more sexually divergent. They experience sex, or they experience their want or need, or however they do sex in a different way. They're not very traditional. It's not just man, woman, fuck to have kids. Like, it's not just that. So it can be a little rough sometimes, even if you're trying to talk to people, because you're trying to figure out what their divergence is. And that, like, someone could be gay or a lesbian, in which they just like the same thing. That's a divergent. That's a divergent. Like, I break it down this way, y'all. So if I confuse you, I'm sorry. Like, this is not what you really want to hear. I'm sorry. But at the same time, for this month, I feel like, there's different things that need to be changed around the perception about these cultures, because there are multiple different cultures, and there's so many different things that need to, like, be learned and understood. So, there's sapiosexual people, for instance, or excuse me, I feel like people like the same. There's sapiosexual people, for people who like intelligence. They like snappy wordplay, witty puns, something that's gonna like find some knowledge, some information. They like different things. There's also people out there who are demisexual, which I kind of akin to, and it's funny. Okay, so whether or not you're an astrology person or not, I find it also really kind of funny, right? That there's certain signs or certain elements that seem to respond to certain things, or certain type of sexual speakings, energy, ways of going about talking to them, I guess. So, air signs, I tend to find out, are very, very sapiosexual. They like the conversation. They like to talk. They get more intimate with you if you talk to them versus if you run up and hold them or something. Like, an air sign to me, I've seen them be that way. Not all air signs, of course. They're not blanketing air signs, not blanketing air energy. I'm just saying in general, this is what I noticed, that air sign people, or people with air sign heavy in the chart, or air sign, like love language centers, tend to be more sapiosexual in the sexual divergence. They tend to like, the conversation. If we're dealing with a water sign, they tend to be more demisexual. And if you don't know what demisexual is when you are more attracted emotionally, if you want to be emotionally intimate. So, like, you want to share your emotions with this person, or you want to, unload your feelings on them. That's probably what more that is. Earth signs seem to be more like stability. Like, they're like loyalty. Then you have to like show them. But what I find interesting is that there's so many different kinds, right? But again, I'm breaking it down by like is like signs or like elements, I should say, like elements. Like earth element people looking for stability. Fire element people look for like passion and sex and all that kind of stuff. And you have to kind of know your sense of self, even when you like. Part of the reason why I bring this up is that to really show pride in yourself, you have to know who you are. So for like the Shadowcast, right, I talk about different things. Some things I bring up from my perspective. Most of the time, it's not all the time. I really am encouraging you to figure out yourself, figure out your own identity, and figure out what you like, and figure out what works best for you. So when we find that out, I guess like the air sign tip, the element tip, or whatever like that is basically to hey, try figuring this out and see how well that works for you. It may or may not work for you. Okay, you have to always understand your sense of self, because you can't have. To me, you can quote me on this one. You can't have pride in yourself if you don't know yourself. Straight up, you can't have pride in yourself if you don't know yourself. So, it's not as bad as it was before. But my point is, there's so many different ways people express sexual desire, right? And desire is a big thing, especially in Pride Month. You're having pride in the way you desire something. Saying, I want to have the world this way, or I want this for me, or I want to feel free and happy and be myself, right? Liberation. There's really a lot of people, there's allies that go to these pride parades, people like that. To me, it's more about liberation than it is about sexuality. I think it's more about liberation in that it doesn't really matter who I'm sleeping with or who I'm like inserting into what or anything like that. But it's more about the idea of, okay, well, I'm being who I am in this moment, whether or not I'm like, how many people, I think maybe this one is that I've seen so many people who are at least some form of the sexually divergent spectrum. And by that I just mean they're not traditional cisgender man, cisgender woman fucking for the like either fun or for reproduction. If you're like say you get turned on like your dopamine centers or whatever, activate upon like hearing or like seeing somebody, or not really seeing somebody, but like upon like really like you have to be around them and people like they have to show you that they're stable before your heart can go like pitter patter or whatever for them. Before you can feel comfortable, before you can feel turned on, before you can like want to be intimate with them. That's like a demisexual type energy or asexual type energy. It's usually that's a divergent energy. So I'm not like trying to figure out how I'm gonna say this. Okay. So it's like if you know yourself, you know you're that person, it's easy for you to find people who you want to deal with, right? Or easy for you to find people who better fit you. Like if you know that you are a lesbian, you probably know you're probably a lesbian. There's a lot of people who, and I remember growing up where I didn't really question what I liked. I just knew I liked things that I liked, and I didn't like what I didn't like. There's some things that like got me going, and some things that didn't. Most of the thing that got me going was myself. So, but for a lot of other people, I know that the thing that happens, especially if you're a teenager, is okay. So now these hormones in my brain, or the chemicals in my brain, are changing. I'm like re-examining what I like, what I don't like, and I want it. And it's like some people, there's kids out there who are like, I want to be like, up there, and they want to have sex and things like that. There's other kids who are not like are not in any type of rush for it and whatsoever. And I feel like it's okay either way because we're in this world full of so many people who express their sexuality or sexual desires in so many different ways, shapes, and forms. The problem I have is not with the people, but it's with the patriarchy the matriarchy, the traditional way of doing things. And I have a problem with the traditional way of doing things because I'm not gonna say it's because it's limiting, but because if you're stepping away from that in any way, shape, or form, it's the labeling that I don't like. Okay, and I've talked about that several times before, but I don't care for the labeling. Now, when I say that, I don't mean like an asexual, autosexual, um, bisexual, lesbian, gay. That's not the labeling I'm concerned with. The labeling I'm concerned with is you're in a curiosity state, right? Because there's so many people who say you're in a bi-curious state right now in your life, or a trans-curious state, where you're questioning, wondering if you want to do this, want to do that. You're still like sexually exploring. And I feel like for a lot of people, if you're sexually exploring, you're already sexually divergent. Like if you're thinking about it, if you're considering it, like you've already kind of made the step to like just claiming the title of being divergent at least, and saying that okay, so like just the people who have the hard no, like like you'll see a straight guy and he has the hard no, like no, I will never be with a man like that. Like there's if you or anybody who's like considers to like do something like other than that, to me I feel like you're already sexually divergent. So like that's the thing that and so many people like the pressure to figure out where along the sexual divergent spectrum you are. I've seen so many times to be the thing that like crumbles people or stops people from really exploring and allowing themselves to be happy, How many people have you heard about that are trans that they come out to be trans later on in life? Not that they didn't know they were trans earlier, but they waited until they were later on in their life to actually like do the transition and make sure that their outside matched their inside and things like that, and have pride in themselves and understand that they have a different way of experiencing sexuality, gender, that type of energy, right? They have a different hormonal or chemical reaction within them. A lot of people have different chemical reactions within them, and it's what I see is that with these sexually divergent people, these people who have these different kind of chemical reactions, or people think about things in a different way, or feel things in a different way. What I see with them is that the pressure to try and make them be what someone else wants them to be really can stunt them, because it's like you got to find out for yourself. It kills the sense of self. Like if you're somebody who's questioning something, but then someone tells you the answer, it's like someone trying to answer your question for you. How do you know what I mean? Like say you're doing a questionnaire and you're filling out things. This is like someone trying to fill out the box for you. They don't let you fill out the box. They fill out the box for you. Like, oh, I know what you are. Oh, I know what you are. But they don't. Not to say that not everybody doesn't, but lots of times people don't know. And so with this, I find that especially, because curiosity really can change some things. Different people can change some things, can persuade some things. You have to know who you are. You just have to. You have to know who you are. In all of this, you have to know who you are. So, the best way I can start off by saying who you are is something. Experimentation is one thing, but honestly, I think something that's also a big deal is knowing who you are outside of sex. And by that, what I mean is that a lot of times when I see people in this sexually divergent arena, right? Say you're a gay person, it's like gay becomes their entire identity. They go and buy everything that says gay on it. They looking for everything. They go online and Google everything that's gay, and they try and just be whatever and fit that mold. Like they get on Twitter and start doing whatever gay things are on Twitter. They get on Instagram and look up like the gay hashtag and try and do whatever those guys are doing or whatever. And they start twerking or like. I'm not saying that twerking is bad, but it's like, how do I put this? It's like Some people make their sexual identity their only identity. Some people make their gender identity their only identity. It's like, um, but it's not though. And maybe you have a hard time finding that out, or maybe people have a hard time finding that out. But my point is that um, finding the depth is not scary. Depth is not scary. Okay? 1 second, I do have an ad I have to run, and then we will get back to this lovely episode. So we're going to talk about multiple identities. 1 moment. What the fuck is happening? Mm-hmm. I don't know what this is about. Mm. Sorry, y'all. And like for the video people, it's not I don't know what the podcast is about because I do, but I don't know what like I'm hearing some like thing in the background, and I don't like it. I don't like what I'm hearing in the background. I'm hearing something in the background, feeling energy. I don't care for it. Okay, and we are back talking about multiple identities, especially sexual identities. Thank you for listening to the Shoutouts, the podcast Hidden in the Shadows, the podcast discussing all things hidden in the shadows, hosted by me, the Living Shadow. So, I'm gonna get started here with this part. So, different sexual identities at once. So, there's some people out there who, and I've come across this as well. There are people out there who may be, like, say you consider yourself a trans person. Okay, why stop? Stop saying yourself out of body. Like, someone has an out of body sex experience, but like, this is like, there's people who are out there who are necrophiliacs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to like judge nobody or nothing, but I'm saying like, there's people out there who could be like a necrophiliac, right? Who may long to fuck dead people, the deceased. Now, when I say multiple identities in this sexual divergence, you could be a um, gay necrophiliac, in which you want, like, you could be someone who is a guy who wants to fuck a guy, but only like dead gay guys or dead guys in general. It may not have to be dead gay guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like there's like the nuance and specifics can get very, 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 very deep for a lot of these people, depending on just what turns them on and what doesn't. I've seen people who have been lesbians. Most people use bi as like a blanket term, right? Or bi or pansexual as like a blanket term to like describe themselves to other people, which is, well, I'm kind of sexually divergent for kind of in a sense, and I kind of want pineapple right now. I don't know what's happening, but I really want pineapple. But like maybe I'm like triggering somebody. I don't know, but like literally, I had like the taste of pineapple like in my mouth just now. Um. Okay. So you're sexually divergent. You may be if you deal with multiple sexual identities at the same time. Now, the reason why this is important, the reason why I bring this up is because, excuse me, multiple sexual identities really will lead you to multiple communities, right? You want to find, if you want to find like-minded people, opposite-minded people, whichever, because there's people, you know what I'm saying, like sexually divergent people. There's some people who are like attracts like. There's some people where they like opposite. There's some people who, you know, whether it's alive or dead, or you know what I mean, like necrophiliac is a real word, it's a real term. Nymphomaniac, things like that. Those are um, different forms of all. Like I shove all this stuff in like under the same thing in a sense, which may or may not be healthy. But I shove it all as being like some form of like different than the norm. Like the norm to me is cisgender male, cisgender female, fucking get pregnant. Oh my god, yeah, we have baby, blah blah blah. If you're not that way, it can get really really rough, depending on who you are and what you got going on. You know, like I think me personally, I found it rough because it's like the trauma, because trauma can, you know, trauma affects not only your viewpoint but also your mind and your emotions. And lots of times people don't feel the thrill or feel the want or need to have sex because of the trauma. There's some people who get traumatized and become hypersexual, and they want to have more and more sex, or they like escape themselves through having sex. So there's various different, again, like ways of expression. But if you are somebody who expresses yourself in these various different ways, say you are somebody who is like a necrophiliac, for instance, and you do want to, you know, touch, you know, like you want the dead bodies or whatever. That's not me personally. Don't take it as me personally necessarily, but it is, you know, there could be somebody who's into that. Now, that again, and you can be bisexual. So there's a group of, like, if you're bisexual, right, you may want to deal with both the male, female, whatever energies of the dead people, but you can be more than one thing at the same time. You could be a necrophiliac, bisexual, and asexual at the same time. Asexual means little to no sexual desire. You could have a fetish for dead people and not want to have a lot of sex that often. You can be a hypersexual and like you could be a hypersexual and you want to have sex all the time, all the time, all the time. But it's a like I don't know how to say it because I feel something in my head as I'm saying that. But you could be a hypersexual and want to have sex all the time, all the time, all the time. But also be like a pansexual, which you don't really love. You can be transsexual. And transsexual, to me, transsexual is different from transgender, which I have made. I really want to explain that to you. Okay, transgender to me is the gender identity. It's when the person goes through the actual like the sex change. That people, and this doesn't mean that they act. It doesn't have. They don't have to go through the entire top bottom surgery to be considered transgender. But my point is that it's more about how they present themselves on the outside. Transsexual is more to me a sexual preference in which someone's looking for a trans person or a person who identifies as underneath a transgender role. If that makes sense. Like if you're transsexual, that means you want to have sex with somebody who identifies as transgender. If you're transgender, it means you're showing you like that. That's at least in my mind. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know, tell me if it's something different, or if you have different viewpoints. I'm at The Living Shadow on Twitter. Okay, The Living Shadow on Instagram and TikTok. Even though I need to post more on TikTok, and The Living Shadow on Facebook too. There's also my website, thelivingshadow.me, and all those communities. There's a Reddit community, a Discord community, Discord, Reddit, and a Facebook group. All the assassination for my assassins out there. Check it out, check it out, check it out. thelivingshadow.me/assassinate. You can go there and find out the community for information. But what I'm trying to get to with this is I'm saying it like this to say that there's different communities you get into, right? So say you're in a you get into a I don't know, a necrophilia. I'm saying necrophilia because I know that is one that a lot of people are not, and it's kind of rare. So if you actually do go and find a necrophiliac community, people who do want to do that or do want to deal with that, maybe these necrophiliac people they could be bi or pansexual. You know what I'm saying? Like they may not care as long as it's a dead person. You may be a very particular type of person. Not casting that on you, not trying to say that you are this person, but for instance, um, say somebody is a necrophiliac, they're asexual, and they're um, an omnisexual. So if you're an omnisexual, which means you don't really care, I shouldn't say that, but it's like you're not really worried about whether it's a man or a woman, but you may not want to have sex often, but when you do, it's like you want to have sex with a gay person, or not, excuse me, a gay person, you want to have sex with a dead person, for the necrophiliac, right? So, say you do that, right? It's hard because I've seen people who, say you go join that necrophiliac group, and all those people are like pansexual, they may be hypersexual, they may be having sex all the time, or they join that group and the people talk about that shit all the time, but you may not be that person. So you may go in that group thinking you're going to feel comfortable and end up feeling less comfortable, not because of the type of sex that you want to have, but the amount of which you're having it. Like I said, there's so much nuance to a lot of these things. So I see so often, like, people talk about, when they talk about their own sexuality, if they are sexually divergent in some kind of way, that it get very uncomfortable just saying whatever their nuanced thing is. Like, a lot of people who I know of who are this way have some sort of nuanced thing. It's not just, oh, every guy I see turns me on. They have a type, they have preferences. Or every girl I see turns me on. Or I need to, like, some people, like, I need to have that butch queen. I need to have that butch lesbian. I need to have the butch queen gay. I need to have, like, a trans man, a trans woman, blah, blah, blah. Like, people have their preferences like that, right? And things that the things that they, like, for their chemical reaction, they like that. To me, that's how I look at it. It's like whatever the chemical reaction kind of pops up for you. But people have those different ones, and depending on how you are, you can go and join a group and still not feel comfortable. So part of this is also advertising for my communities, but I do want to let you know, if you're over here in the shadow, you don't have to be. If you're the living shadow, anything. If you're an assassin with the shadow, okay, over here, go check out the livingshadow.me. Go to those community pages. Your sexuality, your gender identity is not being discriminated against. Okay, now, depending on who you are, you may be trying to attract a certain type of person, a certain type of being, a certain type of thing. Whatever. It's like you should not be afraid to voice that, to be able to tell someone that. And that to me is what this entire month is about. But the whole thing, the fight is not to be able to say it, but to know what it is that you're saying. Like, to know that I guess to me it's to have a universal language of, okay, so we all understand sexual divergent. We all understand that people experience various different things in various different ways. Can you tell me what you want, or tell me what you need, or tell me what your life is, and I'll tell you what my life is. I'll tell you what my experience is. I'll tell you what it would be for me, or what I would need to do. It's like if everybody has a sense of identity, if people know who they are, then they don't have to worry about hiding it, really. And I think it's more easily said than done, because, like I said at the very beginning of this, I've never been in the closet or anything like that. I've always just been me. Like, I wore my granny's heels when I was younger. I took them off and my foot hurt. I put on makeup when I wanted to. And most I don't feel like doing it. I don't want to put my house, so I don't put it on. Like I've had weave for most of my life until weave in my head, for hair for a lot of the time of my life until I stopped so I can grow my natural hair because it was pulling out some of my natural hair. Like, and honestly, what I find so funny is that in the natural state, like, which is why I mentioned the pressure. In your natural state, it's much easier for you to find out if you want this, if you don't want it, what you want, what you don't want, without the stimulation. A lot of people, especially with social media today, and if you've seen social media, especially like a TikTok or something like that, it's constantly, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? We can, and there's so many people out there where they can find you somebody with the body shape that you want or the personality they want. It's up there. It's like freaking, I don't even know, like Tinder, or like to the max, like all of these, like you know what I'm saying. But it's like they find you somebody. They do. They find you somebody. But the thing about it is if you are looking for someone, it's much easier to find someone if you know exactly what you want out of that person. You know what I mean? There's so many people, and again, it's trial and error is a lot of this stuff anyway. So I'm not judging if you're doing trial and error for this, but I'm saying that a lot of people in this Pride Month should be able to take pride in saying that, okay, I do trial and error. Like, okay, my thoughts have changed, my feelings have changed, the chemicals have changed. I like this different now than this. Like, you shouldn't have the problem with saying that they've changed, or they're exploring, or they're in a curious mode, or they're just being divergent, which they have it like being, I guess, woefully. I wouldn't say woefully. Being like undefined in a sense, like being defined and undefined. They should not have an issue with that as you try to really like define it for yourself. And the thing that I would say, the thing that like gets to me is that if you define it for yourself, it's no one else's really fucking business unless you want to make it their business. But it's not. It's none of their fucking business unless you want to make it theirs. Like nobody really has to know you're like if you're a pedophile. No one has to know you're a pedophile if you're not actually doing something illegal. I mean, having sex with kids is a sexuality, y'all. Pride month, sexually divergent. Okay, there's some people out there who are pedophiles. We know that for a fact. I personally, and this is probably gonna be very, very controversial to say this, but honestly, if you're jacking off to a kid, like a picture of a kid in your phone or something, which is a massive difference from actually like touching a child and like doing them with a child, I honestly like. I know a lot of people have like fetishes and stuff. A lot of people do. A lot of people have a lot of different fetishes, things like that. I feel like it's better to just let people do like whatever back in their back of the scenes versus in front of their face, if that makes sense. Like I would rather know that someone is getting their fetish fulfilled off of that picture and done, and not actually touching the child. But I know there's some people who go, well, if they get to the picture, they'll go straight to the child. So whatever. My point is, I'm not going to police. I'm not trying to police that. What I'm trying to say is that it does take some time for some people to really find out what it is that they want. And sometimes it may not be, like, something that you want may not be in your preference, may not be in your previously thought of preference, right? I've had experiences with that. I am not somebody who particularly likes women. I'm going to be honest with that. There are lesbians, for whatever reason, that I like. Don't know why. I think it's just because it's not about this. It's more of an energy thing and more of a balanced energy thing for me personally. And the only reason why I can say that is because I did that work to really sit there and try and figure it out. So I encourage you all to do the same thing. If you do want any help, you can check me out, thelimitshell.me. If you want to book a coaching and talk about some of this stuff, or just talk about sexuality. I don't consider myself a sex therapist, but I do consider myself someone who understands various different sexual desires and urges, and I don't mind talking to people about that. If that's something that you have issue with, because I feel it on my spirit. There's a lot of people who do that, especially for this type of month, this Pride Month. People When I was growing up, it was a thing like this is like the month you start to see everybody they have their coming out videos or their coming out story and blah blah blah. Blah. If you want to share yours, yeah, if anybody ever wants, if you listen to this and you want to be a guest on this podcast and share your story, you're more than welcome to do that. Just email me the livingshadow@livingshadow.me. It's available on the livingshadow.me. The livingshadow.me. You can go there and find my contact information and stuff like that. Also, go to the Twitter at the Living Shadow to do that. But I guess what I want to say is that understanding that being yourself and having pride and being happy with being yourself can look very different in very different forms. And you should not be afraid to say that you're still working on it if you are, or that in being very, very defined if you already have your definition stamped out. Does that make sense? It may be kind of generic, but at the same time, things are very nuanced, and you got to figure out things for yourself. You can't depend on someone to tell you what you are. Go do the research. Go Google things. You'll find out a lot of information. If you watch me on the YouTube, I talk about more of it. There are various different channels. I'm going to be talking more about different things. So subscribe to all my stuff. Links in the description box below for or in the description of the podcast. Either way, for all the different stuff I'm doing. So if you want to see the Living Shadow, if you want to deal with the Living Shadow, check out the livingshadow.me. There's lots of different things I'm doing. And yeah, I do want to thank you all for listening. I hope I may have helped understand something. I hope may have given you some comfort in that having it all not figured out is okay, as well as having it all figured out. And truth be told, a lot of people who say they have it figured out really don't. I'm just spill the beans on that one too. But yeah, so thank you for listening. And remember, we are the assassination. Bye. So I should probably do this as I was sitting here. Oh my god, magic, as I'm over here dying with my fucking light going off. And still, I don't know if I'm like channeling when I'm talking or something, because I hear so many weird things in the process. I don't know. I'm hearing things in the process. Oh my goodness. I'm tired. Like sleepy. Oh my goodness. This is the Reiki Diversion. Sex Diversion. I don't know what's happening. Let me get my deck of cards. I guess something's going down on Earth. I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for listening. Please do put the podcast in your podcast players. Check out my other channels. The links in the description box below for all of them. The Governor channel, the Living Shadow channel, Living Shadow Tarot, which is kind of canceled now. It's kind of gone. So it might come back, may or may not. We'll see how that kind of goes in the future. Shout Subliminals, which I'm uploading new things to that one right now, from new meditations and things like that. What else is there? Yes, basically that's the Living Shadow Slayz, also my gaming channel. Living Shadow Slayz. So if you want to see me do any of these other things, subscribe to these other channels, and you can just watch me and watch me and watch me and watch me. Watch me. Okay, thanks. And remember, sure. Bye.